you can record it. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, in any case, I moved back in 2018 here to do my PhD.
Nice. You work with Gisela?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I did my SSP with her.
Yeah, she's right now doing a lot of cool projects in Stuttgart at OASIS.
Yeah, with the ISS payloads, right?
Yeah, the ISS payloads. Well, the first round, it wasn't that successful with the results, but I mean, the project is very cool. So
absolutely, and even her PhD was quite interesting.
Amazing. Yeah.
It was using algae to reproduce basically and recycle water, oxygen, and even use it for food.
Yeah, they're still working on that, and they have a very cool lab. Okay, so that's it.
Excellent. So hi everyone. So now we're 8. Maybe we wait maybe one more minute to see the other 2 participants will join. So there is another person that I know within the call is Aditi, who's just joined. She and I, we used to work together at Galileo before, and we now together work in ATG, which we found out like literally 2 weeks ago. But we've been at the same company for past 2 years. Okay, so I think we should start. Because the first slides are introduction. Anyway, give me a second. Okay. So welcome everyone to the first roundtable of OASIS. I want to want to establish a forum to support and encourage individuals in STEM sectors, so inviting women and men to come together and support each other and deal with the hard social and cultural issues that we face, especially as women in STEM sector. This roundtable, I want to focus on just looking at the issues, knowing the issues and addressing them, why there is less percentage of women going into STEM sector. So my name is Tee Thakore. I am really passionate about the subject, as well as gender equality in workplace. I have been professionally working in the aerospace sector for the last 8 years, and working and studying, I have encountered countless times when an opinion or an idea that comes, which is rooted so in your cultural values and social values, that hinder progress of young women in their early careers, and also as they progress, the problems they are underlining, the underlining problems, they remain the same a little bit, but also we encounter more issues and gaps that I want to kind of fill. Currently, I'm working as a functional IT engineer at Airbus for Sentinel-5 and Sentinel-4. Before I was working at Galileo Control Center as a spacecraft operations engineer for platform subsystems. And yeah, that's my background. And just to introduce, just want to make it clear that this is a roundtable, and that is why I'm going through introductions quite fast, for myself at least. I would like to also invite you guys to speak about yourself, where you come from, and just give, like, you know, express yourself in one line. Yeah, so we can go through the list. Aditi, can you start?
Yeah, hi Tejal, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I can hear
perfect.
you.
I somehow lost my video, so I also don't know if I can, if you can see me, but okay.
I can see you.
Okay,
yeah,
wonderful.
I can see you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so a quick introduction about myself. As Tejal already mentioned, we used to work before together in Galileo. I come originally from India, and I started my journey in the space sector in Munich in 2010. I did my master's there in satellite engineering, and since then I've been working in the space sector. I have mostly worked for onboard subsystems, mostly payload and data handling, for 2 missions until now, Galileo and Sentinel-3. And currently I work as a post-launch support system engineer in STEC for Aeolus, which is an explorer mission from ESA, and for Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-6. So that's it from me.
Thank you. Mesa?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Masa. I originally come from Iran, living right now in Germany as a PhD candidate at Institute of Space System in Stuttgart. My work mostly right now focuses on well, I have several projects, but the main one that my PhD is on is a stratospheric observatory, so a balloon that regularly flies somehow in line with the SOFIA project that we also have at in Stuttgart. And I am responsible for both onboard flight software and the ground processing software for the balloon.
Excellent.
That's it.
Very exciting, the SOFIA project. Yeah.
Yeah, DSI is a cool place to work.
Yeah.
So.
Do we have Michaela? No. So we'll move on to Sarah.
Hello, my name's Sarah.
Hi.
I started out as a software developer with many years in IBM, and I'm currently a founder of a cloud SaaS software, trying to get started in that world, and it's really hard.
Yeah. Thank you. So next, my mother, Renuka. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Dr. Renuka Thakur, and just let me put in the gallery screen. Yes, I am Dr. Renuka Thakur, and I come from the built environment practices, but however, I have moved to social sustainability, and I have recently founded a Global Sustainable Futures Progressive Partnership Network, where I have adopted global sustainable development goals as my framework so that I don't miss any sector or section of the world. And the bottom line is no one must be left behind. So that's what I am doing. And I have 700 coordinators from 101 countries now joining this movement. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, my mother has been my inspiration for my entire life. And I'm really glad you're here. Do we have Philippa?
Yes, hello ladies.
Hi.
And hi, how are you? An honor to be here with you today. Happy to discuss on this topic. So I am an engineer in electronic systems and did a master's degree in space studies from the International Space University in Strasbourg. And well, I have worked all my life as a consultant in business intelligence and data systems, mostly for banking and financial enterprises. So I'm based in Paris. I am a father of two beautiful girls, one who is already 20 years old, and another one who loves science and has 12 years old. So this is why I am very concerned about the topic of inclusion for girls in STEM.
Excellent. This is one of the points that I will cover later, is why early in early age, like even 3 and 4, why girls are discouraged from going into STEM sectors, and how we can encourage them, and how we can build a roadmap that ensures that they succeed and they thrive in the STEM sector. Excellent.
Yeah, totally.
Welcome.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Do we have Bat Ella? No. No, I don't think so. Do we have Indu? No. Shilpa? Okay. Yamin? Okay, nope. But we do have other people. Give me a second. Kevin?
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hi, Kevin.
So yeah, my name is Kevin Short. I'm a research project leader at Airbus in their Central Research and Technology Division. So I'm not too far from you, Bijal, I don't think, because I'm working out of Ottobrunn.
Oh, right, okay.
And my main focus is on laser communications systems for satellites, for aircraft, and anywhere else we can think about putting them in the aerospace industry. And this is a topic that has been sort of omnipresent, I think, for me for quite a number of years, as a person that has been involved in recruiting, looking for talented individuals, and also trying to seek out those talented women out there that can come in and make a difference in an organization. But I'd have to say that since having joined Airbus, I've realized how prevalent it is, and well, not so much prevalent, but I've been impressed by the focus that Airbus has put on trying to recruit women into the industry.
Yeah.
I've had the privilege of working closely with a young woman in my office who's quite also quite passionate about it. So we've had a number of lengthy discussions on it. And but beyond that, I think that I've also enhanced my interest in the subject, being the father of a 7-year-old daughter who seems to be seems to be quite interested in math these days. She's in grade 2, so she's really getting exposed to the subject, and I can see that she has an inclination towards these types of topics. So I'm also particularly motivated to ensure that I can nurture that interest and ensure that she has all the opportunities that she can.
Excellent. Great to have two fathers of young girls here. I'm also working in Ottobrunn at the Department of AIT for optical instruments. Scientific payloads. So Sentinel 5 and Sentinel 4. Yeah.
Well, we should hook up someday for lunch.
yeah, definitely. We should plan it. Right. So I think that is all us.
Yeah, I had my hand raised. Just
sorry.
Further, I would like to congratulate the Father's Year being with us. And I'm so proud to say that I have 2 daughters, and I'm particularly proud to say that my husband has been supporting us so much that we all three are quite now established in our careers and making this movement possible. If you know T, you would also know B, who is Tee Thakore, and probably you might have heard of her. She's here today, but she's busy with her kid and holidays. But I am really proud that my daughters have made these strides, and actually I have followed them, they haven't followed me. So that is very interesting. Thank you.
That was actually my first question. Where is B?
She's actually
she's here. She's
there.
here, but she's on holiday, so she just did not want.
Well, maybe give my regards.
Sure.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of working with T at ISU a number of years ago. So it's a pleasure and an honor to meet the rest of the family.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So the first point I want to cover is basically addressing and identifying the underlying issues that, let's say, myself, I have experienced this. At least I'm in my mid senior career, and until now, I can absolutely agree with the points that are there for early career, because those are the ones that I experienced quite a lot. And then I would like to also discuss some of the points that or some of the gaps that there are from senior career to senior career, which, I mean, most of us will also will be experiencing them, and how to actually tackle them, how to make sure that these gaps are filled. So let's start with early career. So one of the things that I definitely experienced at the beginning of my, well, just to kickstart my career, was lack of job opportunities. I graduated with my bachelor's in 2008, and we granted that, sorry, 2010. Granted that we were going through the post-recessional period, but in the UK, there were absolutely no jobs available for any international student who had graduated. Whereas I found that in Europe, a lot more jobs were open, and also they were more accepting of, let's say, of even doing the interview. Once I joined the team, the first couple of years, there were literally we were a total of 5 women in the entire building of Galileo, which is a very large project. And yeah, I believe that the lack of women currently in the professional sectors kind of play a role, because we don't encourage, yeah, we don't encourage, but yeah, there is lack of role models in the life that are female in some sector. The other thing that I would like to also state is that there are lack of networks. ISU is a great network for women to get into STEM fields. I was introduced to ISU network at a very young age of 15 when my sister was doing her ISU. But that is not the case for many young girls. Yeah. some of the points that I thought about was for mid-senior career is balancing work-life. Once you have kids, there is, I read a study that 47% of women stop working 4 years after having their first child. And why is that? Because the contrary percentage of for men was 21%, and that's quite like more than half. Yeah. There is other point where the access to senior roles is stopped. So when you apply for a senior role, it is highly likely that you would get the interview. But to go further, it's a little bit difficult because there is an underlying mentality of authoritative positions are not covered by women more, and so that kind of leads to discrimination and also a gap where women are stuck in between early career to mid-senior career and unable to move forward. And of course, the flexible work arrangements at Airbus, I've experienced excellent work arrangements. And granted that COVID has kind of opened up the idea of working from home. But before, think about pre-COVID time. It was, for at least me, working in AIT, even during low work times where did not really need to be in the clean room, we were really asked to come into work every day. So this, if you have kids at home and if your employer isn't open to flexible work times, then it can be quite difficult, and a point where you decide that it's too hard to continue working and being a full-time mom. The senior career is something that I perceive, or I read about. One of the things is that corporate culture is quite male dominated, and this is something that can lead to having less senior managers as females in the company. And also the competition is really extremely hard. And when we think about equal opportunities, even with this extreme competition, the selection should be based on purely your how you perform, your performance, not how a person would be incompetent because they have kids or something like that. Okay, so these are the points that I want to cover, and so we can discuss. I'm going to, I think I can do this. Yeah. So
we have Carla just joined us, so if you want to ask her to introduce others.
Oh, okay. Carla, please go ahead. We did a round of introductions before, as this is a roundtable. So please introduce yourself.
Sorry, I think she has left back. Like she might be having a struggle with the internet or something.
Oh, okay. 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 But if she joins again, then we can do a round for her to introduce. So yeah, do you guys agree on the early career points, or there are more points that we can add? This round is basically to identify what gaps there are.
Well, just to start the discussion, given that you're starting from the early career, it means that you don't wish to go into education, or
that will come later, because
Okay.
I have a slide for gender bias,
Mhm.
and that's I want to focus the early ages. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then.
no, not early, but university, because that was that's my interesting observation in Europe, which really at first surprised me, that the ratio is so I would say different between men and women. We do like in Stuttgart, at least, which is, as you know, is a quite big aerospace campus in Germany. I usually have to go for the exams as a supervisor, as a PhD duty,
Yeah.
and I usually count the females versus males just as observation,
Yeah.
and it's usually around in most of the courses like less than 25%.
Oh wow. Okay.
Female, which is very interesting to me, because well, unconsciously I compare it to a country that I'm coming from, and that's to me quite interesting, because it was not so in Iran.
So
it amazes me, like this shouldn't be, because like, you know,
Yeah.
we're like on top of discrimination against female. So the fact that and I think maybe that's one part of it, that I mean, we were always discouraged government wise after
Really?
the revolution. Yes, yes, that's part of like the systematic discrimination, that, you know, that you are not supposed to do this. It's on TV, it's everywhere. It's what the parliament tries to put in the law. But then still, that, you know, I think at least for 1 or 2 generations after the revolution, that actually made women like just push back. And it's just, it's so different that there is that it's the male students that complain in Iran sometimes.
Oh wow.
That we should positively encourage males to get into, and give and limit the females systematically.
In the UK, it was noticed, IBM, and I joined IBM in the 90s, so this is even going back quite a few years. They noticed their hiring was about 18 or 19% female, and that was pretty much what was coming out of the universities as comp sci graduates. So they realized that they needed to tackle the problem earlier, and they have a lot of initiatives around girls age 14, 15, which is when in the UK you make the science choices, and girls start to drop out of science. And the interesting thing is, while I think that's a great initiative, it's been going on for 25 years now, and I'm not seeing the change. I'm not seeing the impact on the number of grads. So I think one of the things that's needed is new ideas and new initiatives and new ways to encourage women to take up STEM subjects at 14, at 16, at 18, and then to carry on, because you can't fix it higher up without fixing that first.
I would tend to agree with Sarah. Like, I'm curious about what the challenges are facing girls in their education, that it serves as an impediment to them pursuing STEM topics, right? Because, as I said, I had a conversation a number of years ago with a supervisor, because we were talking about, oh, you know, we like to see more women in our research group. We want to bring them in, you know, anybody that knows anybody, blah blah blah. And I said, well, what's the main challenge? Why are there not? Why can't we find these women? And his response to me was, well, if you only have 5 applying, right? Like 5 women versus, you know, 15 guys, whatever, right? You know, you can't create women out of thin air, right? And if they're not coming out of the education system, then they're not going to be applying to jobs. And so that kind of really raised the question in my mind as to how can we be effective at bringing girls up through the STEM topics in school? I mean, what is preventing girls from pursuing those topics.
Well, and is it the lack of role models at the senior levels?
You think so?
Do we need to fix that first? I don't know.
I
No, I think there are
completely-
other things, but sorry, Dr.
Yeah,
Renuka?
yeah, I think it is again society, because the young people like 14, 15, which we are talking about, when they go in market or the society outside, they see hairdressers and waitress and all other, key workers of things, which they are exposed to, whereas our engineers and others live in offices which they get never exposed to, and they never, if anyone is not that type of role model in their family or home, they never know what opportunities lie out there. And therefore I have been working for widening team in for Batspa University, where we had special workshops, and we used to ask students that what you want to be when you come out of your school, and generally the answers would be hairdresser or a chef or something like
physical manual
fancy things.
Yeah. I also have noticed that young girls, so like 12 to 15-year-olds, have access to Instagram and TikTok. And this is kind of really terrible for getting them into STEM subjects, because they only look at the media that is out there. They only look at the fun part of it. But I think we also need to find a way to channel them in a way, saying, look, this is a great app. Can you actually develop one? And this kind of question, this kind of guidance is what is also needed when they select, when they're selecting their main subjects for GCSEs and A-levels. And I mean, I completely agree that this is the age that we need to tackle. But I really like Mom and Sarah's point as well, that and that is something that I wrote there as well, is lack of role models in how to expose them or to the excellent individuals that are already working in the industry. And one of the things that I really liked was that ISU and even IAC invite the local schools and local universities to come and participate in the conference. Now, if it is open, if conferences that big are open to young girls, then this could be a good solution, because then they see that, oh, working life as an engineer is not boring, it's not tedious, it's actually quite exciting. You get to meet people. I mean, I was literally 18 when I met Bill Nye at ISC. And this is something that pushes me forward, because it's I think what they're missing is to see the benefits part of it, the good life, the higher quality of life even, and just making strides in even research.
And the fun and interesting work. Going back to the question about why do girls come away from STEM, there is a big shift through about age 11, 12, 13, that sort of first early years in secondary school. And my stepdaughter was one of them. When she started secondary school, she loved physics. It was one of her favorite subjects. She was in a science club after school. And then something happened, the day of the week changed and it clashed with something else. She dropped out of the science club and she slowly completely lost her interest. And by the time she got to A-levels, she's now doing, English and classics, and she's lost the science piece completely. And I don't think, though, that it's one big thing, because I think if it was, we would have found it and fixed it. I think it's a collection of lots of little small pinpricks. It's being the only girl or one of only 2 or 3 girls in the science class.
Yeah.
It's not seeing the repeated role models. You might see them very occasionally, but not regularly. And it's lots of little things, and it's really hard to tackle.
Yeah.
But for your own kids, look out for it when they start secondary school.
Yeah. Also,
I
that we
also-
need to. I also think that when we raise boys, we need to encourage them to not think that trucks and robots and rockets or whatever, they're part of the boys club. This is something as a cultural and social issue that we need to tackle as well. So this kind of brings in the young parents that need to encourage the kids to I don't know, paint their nail polishes.
Buy
even.
Lego for girls. Buy lots of Lego for girls.
Yeah.
Even the
Exactly.
advertising used to be in the 70s, Lego was for everyone, and now it's for boys, and it's changed.
Yeah.
I think there is also lack on our side, that how many engineers go out on the Instagram and others when telling about their job, how exciting it is and so on, or how easy it is to get on, or how simple things can happen if they get on with this. Because we see lots of people with fashion, design and other things coming up and making their self-exposed to the social media, but we all get into the hard stuff of our work and other things and do not have any time for social engagement, which we need to encourage, I think, within our own groups as well.
Well, I think you said that. We probably, most of us, we do not have time for that. But in other industries, I mean, in fashion, they actually make money right now through Instagram.
Yeah.
That's
But
why.
I think that's the other. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can interrupt them.
Say,
fine.
I think,
We'll do the same.
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to touch on your point there that the fashion industry makes money through social media and whatnot, and I think that's one of the challenges in the technology industry, is that either by virtue of the engineering mind or by virtue of where our technology is applied, is that it's highly sensitive a lot of the time. And so at least in the European theater, it's or oh no, sorry, I'm going to say more internet. I'm going to say more generally. It's you're faced with dual use topics. You're faced with competitiveness, and again, I'm not a fashionista by any stretch of the imagination, but I would go out on a limb and say that the fashion industry, by making a piece of clothing, a company is not made or broken by a single piece of clothing, right? Whereas when you talk about the space industry, Sentinel-4, Sentinel-5, you go out and talk about what you're doing, then the government hears about it, and then this becomes a controversial issue, and all of a sudden that 200, 300 million euro contract is gone. So I think there's that aspect. There's the security aspect, when you talk about ITAR regulations and things like this. So I think it becomes much more challenging for us as scientists and engineers to feel comfortable communicating. And I certainly can remember back in Canada when I was there, is that when there was a day back in the 80s, at least from what my from what my mentors had told me at the time, is that it was there was a culture in companies that made it very much part of your job to talk about what you were doing, right? Because it was seen as being a very positive thing, et cetera, et cetera. But then, at least in the Canadian context, kind of in the late 80s, early 90s, for whatever reason, and I think this had to do with like political scandals and all this, science and technology became a very taboo subject to talk about, right? Because there was this sense that, don't talk about the work that you do because we're being funded by the government, and if the government screws up, then we're going to get the axe. So I think this is, these also kind of contribute to the challenges we have in communicating, the exciting work that we do.
Yeah, and even in the tech industry where it's easier in a way to talk about it, if you name a big tech company, you will come up with US first and all the FANGs. And then you'll go Asia, you'll go Alibaba, you'll go Infosys, some of the big Asian ones. But you won't name a European company very easily in the tech industry, and you should. There are some, but they're not as big a profile in Europe.
But even when you talk about Alibaba, you know, you talk about Alibaba, and when I think about that, I mean, yes, that's a tech company, but that's not the first thing I think about in terms of what Alibaba does. So I would say that it's one of these tech companies that's masquerading as a social, you know, like as a social media and retail outlet, right? So I think that's also where some of these companies have you know, have challenges. If you go to a traditional one like IBM, for example, I mean, I think I would go so far as to say that as exciting as IBM is to us insiders, I think if you talk to a general population, IBM is the definition of what makes science and technology dry and boring, right? Right?
I know. I left my work there.
Right?
Can I take time to introduce Michaela, who has joined us late, and maybe she can speak about herself and a few points on this discussion.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon. Yeah, sorry, I had to finish a few things. I couldn't join earlier. Yeah, so would you like to know just like an introduction of what I'm doing or my background, or how I can help? Or
just say a few words. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Michela Muñoz. I'm originally from Madrid, but actually I went to the US. I went to ISU as well before. And then I went to Caltech to do my PhD there. And yeah, I've been working there, you know, Caltech and then JPL for almost 20 years. And just a few years ago, I decided to move back to Europe. So I'm back in Spain right now and working on ESA missions. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I did a lot of STEM and tried to help a lot in the US actually. So I'm familiar with this, and I'm always happy to help. And yeah, I could see at JPL we had this open house, and I would talk, you know, about the Juno mission that I was working on, or Curiosity, and then I saw many girls, you know, coming and say, hey, you know, that's so cool that you're doing that. I want to do it. And then, you know, like I've kept in touch, and I see that many of them got, how can I say, you know, encouraged, right, by me telling them that, you know, you can do it, you know, it's not a boys thing, or so it's just so yeah, I'm happy about that. And one thing is true that, you know, talking about how to you know, to motivate, you know, young girls, I realized also in the US it's very cultural. No, when I was there, it was kind of weird. They told me, oh, you are a PhD at Caltech, you are a girl, you're a woman, and it seemed to be so weird to them. And actually here in Spain, when I studied engineering, we were many more women. 50% of the class basically women in double E, in electrical. And then I went to Caltech, and I was, in most of my classes, I was the only woman. That was really strange for me. But yeah, I think they, you know, it's been getting better in the US. I think it had to do a lot with the education. And it seems that girls had to be princesses and guys had to be the engineers, and some kind of thing. And they even told me once that some girls didn't want to go into engineering because then they thought the guys wouldn't like them because they thought they would be less feminine. And so yeah, sometimes with the American guys there, they were like, oh, you don't look like an engineer. And like, how am I supposed to look like, you know, really?
It's like a box you need to fill, like.
So that was a bit my experience there, was kind of funny. And, you know, even with Caltech, right? Like at the beginning, even here in Spain, I would say, oh, I'm going to Caltech. Nobody knew Caltech, but then you had the show of the Big Bang Theory, right? And now everybody in Spain is like, oh, you come from Caltech. So that's why it's also important to have, like, you know, TV series and things that are kind of extreme, because Caltech was not like that really, but, you know, it makes it famous or somehow. And I think, you know, going back to what you were saying, actually, I wanted to mention that I think in the past few years, I saw a trend that it seems that, you know, young girls and also boys, I think they want to do something that is easy, right? And you make the most money. So I think that's why they want to be like models, you know, soccer
influencer.
Yeah,
that's where everyone wants to be an influencer.
Yeah, whatever is easy. And they don't, maybe the culture of the effort, no? Maybe it's something we learn more from our parents or grandparents, right? That they had to work harder, right? And then maybe we are born now in this society where, you know, they give you everything done and it's so easy, and you think, well, I'm not going to take the effort to be an engineer or, you know, do something that is really hard, right? So I think that has to do as well, no, with the culture nowadays, which is a bit...
That's actually like the next slides that I had. But what we can do is we can focus on this topic for the rest of the hour.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. It reminded me of something from what Michaela was saying. When I was, let's say, choosing which faculty or subjects to take after my 12th grade. So we are talking about at the age of 18 or something.
A-levels,
yeah, okay, those are the A-levels. Okay, thanks. I mean, talking about the cultural background, of course, in India, it was always a bit tricky to decide something technical as a girl. And on top of that, I mean, it was fine because at my home, my mom is a doctor, and my father is an engineer. So we already had STEMs in the house. So that was an easy choice for me to go into STEM in general. But the funny part was I was extremely interested in taking mechanical engineering, but the first reaction I got from both my mother and my father was, you shouldn't take mechanical engineering because women don't find jobs in mechanical engineering. And unfortunately, it was true. It was unfortunately very true. And okay, I probably wasn't strong enough to find, I wasn't strong enough to fight this statement and say, no, it doesn't matter, I'm still going to take it. But probably I wasn't strong enough, or probably I also thought, yeah, maybe they have a point, I may not get a job, you know, because that is the other part of the culture where in India you're kind of forced to take something that will give you a job. And that
it's not just India. My mother, I did a mechanical engineering degree, manufacturing systems, and my mother said to me, "You're going to wear a helmet," and I was like, "That's the first thing you thought about it."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the same for me for aerospace. My parents just said that.
No
one gives you a job in aerospace in this country. But then, I mean, I was a bit headstrong. I did that.
Very good, very good. No, in the end, I was just going to close my thought on one point, which is a bit funny. We joke about it a lot. They say that in India, you become an engineer first, and then you decide what you do, what you want to do. And this is exactly what happened to me. It was like I'm a cliche personified, because I did my engineering and I was extremely bored with it because I did it in computer science. Not that computer science is boring in itself, but it was not what I liked. And I then ended up doing my master's in satellite engineering. So it was really the way it went. And of course, I'm absolutely happy where I am. But it started back then where there was no chance to go into a faculty because there were no jobs for women in that faculty.
Yeah, I actually had something a little bit different. I when I was young, I wanted to be a surgeon, and my parents were like, no, you're gonna be an engineer because we all are engineers. So my dad's a civil engineer, my mom's now sustainability organizer, I want to say.
Yes, I was electrical engineer before, but now I've moved to sustainability.
And my grandfather was also an engineer and had industry even in Germany at that time. So doing something away from engineering was not an option for me. And they really they were like, no, doctors don't make, it's too long, it's too difficult. Go for engineer, you will be self-sufficient in less time. And I mean, when we are talking about STEM, we are also talking about medical sector, that comes in the sciences. So I would also like, the medical training is very long. You have like 8 years of residency that you have to do. And that discourages girls, because then you'll be working like really long hours and really shifts through. And this I agree that like while we have in India, definitely we have this saying that become an engineer fast, and then you can see what you want to do. And this is, while it has a kind of a negative side to it, it's also a good way to kind of, encourage women into STEM sectors. And then, yeah.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to pick up on a comment you just made.
Yeah.
That why would the long hours of residency specifically discourage girls?
I did not.
You made the comment that, okay, like when you're trying to encourage girls to go into to become doctors, say, well, it's long, it's a long education, and then you have 8 and fully agree it's a long education, and then you have the residency, but you qualified that by saying it's discouraging to girls. Why would it not be discouraging to girls and boys?
Oh, it's
my
definitely
question.
It should be, but
it should be, exactly, but why are girls particularly discouraged from the residency?
To be honest, I'm partly a workaholic.
Sorry, what?
So
You're partly
I'm
what?
a workaholic. So I mean,
okay.
I can sit and work like 20 hours a day and enjoy the exhaustion. But to be honest, it's still somehow required. So I live with my boyfriend, but I mean, I had other relationships along the way, and all men actually still, like my boyfriend, he has a PhD, he's very educated, he's very open-minded, but he still like sometimes sees something in the house, especially during this pandemic, that he's waiting for me to do that. He's waiting for me to clean something, and I'm just staying in my office doing my job, and enjoying it. But I see the expectation. He has to be reminded. It's still like part of the. I'm sorry. It's part of the female role that we play to actually identify ourselves as feminine. Still, I still want to be known as as the woman that wants to be the male here. So I do things to
that's never
gestures.
the question. That's never a statement. So don't even say that, because
no, I'm just saying that it's expected, and you see that you would lose a chance to maybe have a kid, because that's a limited duration. Maybe I can't do both of them together. So you put together all this as a woman, and then you want to fit as a woman. You want to still do these cool things, still be look independent, financially stable, have a family at the same time, and do everything else. It honestly, it doesn't fit together, all of them together.
It doesn't. And there is also, so there's definitely a thing where if you have a young child, it's incredibly hard for a woman to, almost impossible to work long hours and look after a young child in a way that it doesn't seem to be for men. And we should support men being the primary carers more often. That would help to shift that. But what I'm also noticing is that women who, let's say they've got through to their 50s, the kids have left home, they could work longer hours. It's no longer about not being able to. They still mostly don't want to. It's starting to show when companies are returning after COVID, when they do a survey saying who wants to come back in the office. Broadly speaking, the men want to come back in the office, and the women are like, no, I have more time if I don't have to commute. I'd much rather work from home. I'm not sure why that is or how we tackle it, but it is a thing, and it's not just about children, although that's part of it.
I think it is also down to the woman's security and other things, like working long hours, going at night in unsocial hours, and so on. It may not be the case in developed countries, but it is certainly a case in developing countries where still women are not being like highly secured. There are no facilities where it allows women to work independently for long hours.
Let's focus on the developed world right now. So we're talking Europe and US and the rest developed world. And I personally believe that once, I mean, Airbus is a little bit different. I have noticed that because 3 of my department team leaders, they all had babies at the same time, and they all went to maternity and paternity. So let's say they were not all women, but the 2 women, one man. And one of them is coming back in November to a new position, and the other one is coming back to the same position in January. And this is all pre-decided. And I think once there is also, yes, as you said, that there is a gap where even if you don't, let's say if you have kids, you go on maternity and you come back, the opportunities that you come back to the same position are high. Then you come back to a senior position. But why is that for one person who had the exact same amount of paternity leave to compare to the exact same amount of maternity leave? Why is that? And this is something that it will be a really cool point for us to notice, because this is the time when women, so moms, go back to work and show their kids that it's okay to have let's say a workaholic, not in a negative sense, in a positive sense, a workaholic life, as well as having coming home to dinner. Doesn't matter if you've cooked it or not, but you can still have that life. And as young parents, like I especially, whenever I speak with young parents at my work, or even because a lot of my friends are having kids, and I have two moms that are working in a senior management position while having 2 kids that are less than 3-year-olds, and that's a really good achievement. I really admire them, because and it's also a compliment to their partners, because they took on the responsibility as a primary parent, not fully, but they share it. And still, when my friend has to work late hours, it's never questions like, oh, but why today, or why. It's just, you're there. It's like how we would support if they're working long hours. And so this gap, so this is for a group that are young mothers, and the other Sarah, as you mentioned, the group that does not have kids and want to stay at home. Why is it that they don't succeed to senior roles? So what is the gap there? I personally have no experience in that, so I cannot really say it, but maybe some of you else does. My mother, for example, she started studying with me at my university, so we were studying together. And she went on to do her master's, PhD. Now she's at the university as a research associate. So, and that is a really big compliment also to my dad, because he gave her the freedom to flourish and to go further. So maybe it is that once the kids are out of the house, it's harder for women to go back into that struggling world. Am I do you guys have any thoughts? Or
from what you were saying, I mean, you made a lot of points, but there was something that I sort of heard in a seminar that was given by ATG, in fact, our company, some months ago, last year, in fact. And it was about this inherent, so to say, quality in women, where they carry it's not only a quality, or it's not only a characteristic of women, but it's mostly seen in women, which is the imposter syndrome. And I have seen it a lot around myself as well, because let's say I'm quite lucky, because over the last 8-9 years, as you said, we started with a team or a building in which there were barely 5 women, and now I actually work in a team which is half women. My boss is a woman, and half the team is women. So in that sense, I must say I'm quite lucky that the number of women in my workplace are quite balanced. And I see it even in the offices. So it's not just my team. So I see it quite a lot. However, the point I was trying to make is, I realized it over time that on one side, probably the question is still about how it's male dominated, and how it's difficult to get women promoted to senior roles and so on and so forth. But I think there is also a contributing factor of the imposter syndrome that comes from women themselves, where they keep thinking that they are probably not good enough for a role. So they don't advertise themselves, let's say, strongly enough, which is something I've seen in general men do a lot. I'm not saying, as I said, it's not zeros or ones, or white and black. There are also guys who suffer from the same syndrome. So but in general, the percentage wise, I think I've seen women think about it a bit more, always be on a back foot. Maybe I'm not worth it, maybe I'm not qualified enough for it, and so on and so forth. And I think this kind of a mentality comes a lot in their way of getting to senior roles, because if you're sitting in an interview room, and if they see that you're not confident enough, that's already enough for them to not decide and go for you as the person in that role. So I know it's, well, let's put it this way, it's more internalizing the problem rather like until now we were thinking about what external things that could be done, but this was more an internal point that I thought was extremely important and quite evident around me, within myself, as well as some women around me. So yeah, I think that
I have noticed the same as well, that I mean, I'm responsible for quite a lot of subsystems in our instrument, but I have difficulty myself, like saying that, no, I'm responsible, so it's my responsibility. It is my decision. I take your inputs into account, but this is how it's going to be. Having that authoritative influence on your colleagues is a trait that we all need to kind of overcome. Like we need to work on it. And I think I'm just thinking like how we can actually address it, and how we can actually encourage women to say that no, that there is a time where you can say that this is what you did, and this is what you should be proud of, that you did this. Like just even if it is conducting a seminar, or conducting a meeting or something, it's something that you did, you should be proud of it. Whereas in my day-to-day work, I'm always trying to seem friendly, which was one of the points that I made in my slide, which we can cover next time. But I think here, so you can see, like when I have noticed myself that I when I talk, I truly believe that less than 20% goes through, unless I'm really being assertive about something that I know is going to be harmful to the project, or is going to cause us a lot of problems. Then only then, when it's extreme condition, I go into this assertive mode and say, okay, no, it's that's it. Like we're going to do this way, because there are a lot of other things that can go wrong. And yet so this is one thing. Other thing is that I wanted to talk about is, when you're too friendly in the team, then you're not taken seriously. And this is a terrible way to kind of have a have a mentality of this, because if you're too friendly, you're trying to prove to your colleagues that you are capable, you know. And they I mean, even as a person, imagine if you're on a date, and if the person is that you're with is trying to continuously tell you that they are great for you, you are not going to believe that they are great for you. You know, it's just a psychological psychological perception of the other person. So how do we have that thin line of too friendly and actually no, I'm just approachable and a good team player. I've also
had a couple of, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just had a couple of comments I wanted to make before I have to drop off. But I mean, I think everything you're saying is spot on. I think the challenge is, how do we separate the cultural from the psychological, from the economical, to the operational aspects of all of these things, right? Because I think this is where, you know, going back to Sarah's point, why has it never been solved? Because I think the challenges that we're talking about, or that you're talking about, you know, bridge all of these things very fluidly, right? Because you talk about, you know, like, you know, why does one woman, or, you know, why is it difficult for women to advance in their career, right? And to me, I find that a challenging, how to say, a challenging problem to navigate, right? Because you want to, you know, you want to encourage people to go up the ladder, but at the same time, you can't replace, you know, if people are away from their careers for a couple of years, that's, you know, lost experience. And I speak from personal experience. Like I had, you know, I mean, in my early career, when I was, you know, trying to establish myself, I had, you know, recruiters and HR people telling me, well, you know, you haven't been involved in technology. I mean, this is one of the challenges we have in the STEM field, right? Well, you've been away from the technology part for 6 months, a year, you know, and things have moved ahead, and, you know, your skills aren't quite up to date. I mean, so that's true for anybody in STEM. So I think that again goes to the particular challenge in STEM. But at the same time, you know, we have to be careful that, you know, we don't create this sense of entitlement, this culture of entitlement that, oh, well, just because I had X number of years previously, I should jump right in. I mean, so again, I find like this is, if we were to come up with an action plan in this group, that to me would be it. How to, you know, how can we separate out first the cultural and all of these aspects, and then look for the potential connections between them, and then start tackling, you know, can we start tackling the problem that way? The other point that I wanted to make, you know, thinking about, you know, I've been watching some documentaries recently talking about women and their role in industry during the Second World War, and primarily in the UK and the US, where you had this massive movement, you know, certainly from the top down, from government down, to encourage women to go into technical jobs, where you had this you know, the fact that you had this mass exodus of men as they went to fight in the war. So you had to have women working in, you know, heavy metal industry and manufacturing, you know, highly technical things for the time. And you know, there was this huge empowered movement at the time, right? Now, when the war was over and the men returned, I think the culture at that time dominated, that then, you know, pushed women back into the caretaker role, right? But I think nowadays, or at least I'd like to think, in, you know, in Western culture, I can't necessarily speak too much for Asian culture per se, But from a Western culture perspective, I like to think that in the 21st century, the culture is different. There isn't the same culture or same critical mass of culture that says, okay, women need to be at the home, blah, blah, blah. But what's missing now is that mass movement. So how can we create that mass movement that existed back in the 40s when you had this massive absence of the male authority figure?
Yeah.
And to me, like that would be one of these aspects of this movement that could we create or action plan or call to action for this group, whatever, is how can we create that movement?
Exactly. And we cannot go back to having a war so that men are
No,
away.
and yes, I should preface this that how can we
You can't
create
have
that
that, so-
movement without all the death and destruction, right?
Yeah.
But you see what I mean, though, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
I think was as I
Absolutely
said,
agree. Yeah.
was quite a prevalent thing in this one documentary I was watching that talked about, women had all these opportunities and leadership roles and were making massive contributions to the industry, non-traditional women, non-traditional female roles. But then as soon as the women came back, it's like the culture snapped them back into the homestead, right?
Yeah.
Can I remind you that we can now close, we need to close soon now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so
Anyways, I
think
just wanted to make those two comments before I had to drop off as well.
yeah. No, that's a really good a point to also end this session. But I would like to ask each and every one of you, because this is a round table and I want to work with all of you. Maybe we can do like a small a homework for everyone, that we write down what of the points that you wanted to make, or I'm of course, the time was short and we only kind of graced one of my slides. So the next time we can go further with the other slides. But write down the main points that you think we need to address. So what are the biggest challenges? Doesn't matter young age, doesn't matter senior roles, just what are the challenges that you think are important? And then the next part is, when you say this challenge, what do you think would help? So in this way, we don't just have one action plan, but we cover a lot of topics. We make multiple action plans. And actually, I want to see the shift that you just mentioned, Kevin. I really want to see this shift. Maybe we cannot achieve this in 1 year, we cannot achieve this in 2 years, but at least in 5 to 10 years, I want to see 50% of teams, gender equality in teams, in departments, in managerial positions. And yeah, this is the change that I want to see. And to end it, I would like to invite you again to the next roundtable. I will do this monthly. So if you can attend, if you liked this session and you want to attend, we will discuss the topics that you write down as well. And yeah, we can take it from here. A bit like SGAC and combination with a network. So like ISU. So we all have very, very cool jobs and cool backgrounds, and I think we can make a difference.
So, Tee, are you going to coordinate the sort of emails and the platform where we're contributing ideas or anything, or are we just doing it by email at the moment?
At the moment it's email, but I will try to find a actual forum if I can build something like a forum where people can put their notes, people can have comments. Then yeah, I will try to do that in the next week or so. And
maybe Slack. Maybe we can have a Slack for the.
Sorry, I cannot. There is a lot of interference. Is that Filippo?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna.
Filippo, it could be your Bluetooth.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you. Can you send me your comments? Okay. Filippo, I've just muted you because okay, because there is a lot of interference, but send me the comments that you had. You all have my emails. I think only Kevin doesn't. But Kevin, I will send you a LinkedIn message with my email, and yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for participating. It has been an extremely lively discussion, and I really hope to see something exciting coming out of it.
Thanks a lot for organizing, Tee. Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, see you later.
And have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye. Talk to you soon.